All right, today I want to talk about the lateral lisp. So this was the second type of lisp that can really affect a student's intelligibility. So this lateral lisp is when the sound is coming out the sides laterally opposed to coming out the front. And it affects the S sound, but it also affects a lot of other sounds too if this is a typical pattern for a student. So it affects the S, oftentimes the Z, the SH, the CH, and the J. So it sounds a little bit like, I saw a snail in the sand and it went to the beach, and makes the sound coming out the sides of the mouth opposed to the front. So this is a really atypical way of producing a sound, and if this error does occur, then it should be corrected as soon as possible. So this isn't really a typical developmental pattern. And this is actually one of the most tricky errors to correct. So really what I found that's the most beneficial way of correcting this lateral lisp is kind of tricking the tongue into making the sound the right way. So since the air is coming out the sides, you really have to force the air to come out the front. So I'm going to talk today specifically about correcting the S sound in a lateral lisp. So as I said before, it's going to sound something like this. I see a snail at the sea. I see a snail at the sea. And what I do to correct that is thinking about the three parts of the mouth, that the lips, the tongue, and the teeth. I really actually just trick the tongue into making the sound come out the front by starting with a T sound. So I'll have the student say t, 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 with their lips back and their tongue narrow for that T sound, t, t, t. And then I have them say it faster, t, 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 t. And you can feel the air coming out the front when you make that sound coming out faster, and then we just work on faster, faster, t, 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 t. And then you hold out that T sound, and it actually tricks the tongue into making the S. So it sounds something like this. And then after we've tricked the tongue into going from the T to the S, I have them begin to say sounds or words that begin with the S sound with it starting with the T. So it might sound like see, say, saw, soda, those kind of things. And then eventually you're tricking the tongue enough to where it actually then starts to put their tongue in the right spot for the S sound. So you also want to make sure that your lips are back when you're tricking your tongue in with the T. So t, 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 and not t, 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 because that's going to sound a little bit distorted. And then you just kind of build from there. A lot of times what I found is when you really drill a lot with that S, it actually generalizes into some of those other sounds that the lateral lisp affects, like the Z and the SH and the ch and the j. So today I just want to talk about correcting the S from assimilation with the T, and then in a later video I can talk about how the lateral lisp affects other sounds and how we can correct those.